An explosion rocked through the city of Atlanta at approximately 1:20 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday morning. It was in the Olympic Park, Centennial Olympic Park. There are very sketchy details, even hours after the explosion, as to the cause of it and the extent of injuries and potential fatalities.
On April 27 the torch relay began spanning until July 19, which culminated in Muhammad Ali lit the cauldron symbolize the start of the Olympic Games. On July 27, 1996 there was a bombing in Centennial Olympic Park in Atlanta that ended up killing one person and injuring 111. Before the bombing occurred, the FBI received an anonymous call telling them that this bombing was going to occur. But before they alerted anyone, security guard Richard Jewell found the bomb and alerted Georgia authorities. The bomb squad found the bag and the security guards started clearing the area. But before everyone could be evacuated, the bomb detonated. In protest to this event, people came out to the events the next day to show unity and that the attacks would not bring people apart. Also, Bill Clinton had this to say about the situation.
Good morning. The bombing at Centennial Olympic Park this morning was an evil act of terror. It was aimed at the innocent people who were participating in the Olympic Games and in the spirit of the Olympics. An act of cowardice that stands in sharp contrast to the courage of the Olympic athletes. On behalf of all Americans, let me extend my condolences to the families of those who lost their lives and our prayers to those who were injured. I want to thank the brave security personnel who were on the scene. They saw the package. They alerted the bomb squad. They cleared the crowd. They prevented a much greater loss of life. I also want to compliment the medical personnel at all the hospitals, those who were operating the ambulances, they and the volunteers who were helping people who were down at the scene. Those of us who watched it throughout the night last night could not have been failed to be impressed by their courage, their competence, their real heroism under pressure.
Richard Jewell was initially hailed as a hero, but he was reported by the media as a person of interest before being cleared of all suspicions by the authorities. This led him to later sue multiple media companies.
Lynn Wood, Wayne Grant, and Jack Martin, who unfortunately cannot be here today. In its rush to show the world how quickly it could get its man, the FBI trampled on my rights as a citizen. In its rush for the headline that the hero was the bomber, the media cared nothing for my feelings as a human being. In their mad rush to fulfill their own personal agendas, the FBI and the media almost destroyed me and my mother. They also talked about, in there about for 88 days, my mother lived a nightmare too. Mom, thanks for standing by me and believing in me. And like in a pile to be taken to the dump, it was trash. On the evening of July 27th, 1996, at Centennial Olympic Park, I did not set out to be a hero. I set out that night simply to do my job and to do it right. I was then...
After the clearing of Richard Jewell, the FBI had no suspects until 1997 when there was a bombing at an abortion clinic and a lesbian bar. The bombs had similar construction, which led the police to determine it was the same person. What truly narrowed down the search was a follow-up bombing of another abortion clinic which gave the FBI a partial license plate. This along with more leads led the FBI to consider Eric Rudolph as a suspect. This got him placed on the FBI's most wanted list where he stayed for 5 years until he was caught in the North Carolina wilderness. This is the statement Eric Rudolph releases in response to his horrible actions.
In the summer of 1996, the world converged upon Atlanta for the Olympic Games. Under the protection and auspices of the regime in Washington, millions of people came to celebrate the ideals of global socialism. Multinational corporations spent billions of dollars, and Washington organized an army of security to protect these best of all games. Even though the conception and purpose of the so-called Olympic movement is to promote the values of global socialism, as perfectly expressed in the song Imagine by John Lennon, which was the theme of the 1996 Games, even though the purpose of the Olympics is to promote these ideals, the purpose of the attack on July 27 was to confound, anger and embarrass the Washington government in the eyes of the world for its abominable sanctioning of abortion on demand. The plan was to force the cancellation of the Games, or at least create a state of insecurity to empty the streets around the venues and thereby eat into the vast amounts of money invested.
Directly behind Eric Rudolph in the courtroom today, his sentencing hearing was emotionally wrenching. Survivors of his clinic bombing finally got the opportunity to lash out at Rudolph.
Been waiting 7.5 years for it, and the main purpose was to see him and let him know he failed.
Staring him dead in the eye, Emily Lyons blasted Eric Rudolph, calling him a failure and a coward who had spent his life in prison rather than risk death. She told a smug Rudolph he might as well be dead because he'll never marry a woman he loves or father his own children. I overheard one of his defense attorneys lean over and tell Rudolph, "She's just trying to get you to go off."
That wasn't the point of it. It was just statement of facts. I wanted to let him know what he had done to me, what he had done to my family.
Diane Durzis looked the killer straight in the eye, too. She owns the New Woman All-Women Clinic where Rudolph detonated his bomb. Now, you chose to sit in the witness stand. Why was it so important for you to be there?
I wanted to see his face. I wanted to look him in the eye. And I appreciated the fact that he did look me in the eye.
What did you see in his eyes?
Nothing. Because I don't think there's anything there.
In court, Felicia Sanderson spoke for a victim who couldn't speak for himself.
My husband is buried in his uniform.
Rudolph used dynamite and 5 pounds of nails to shred a Birmingham police officer. Sandy Sanderson's widow understands why prosecutors agreed to the plea deal.
After this incident, the United States decided to spend around $300 million on security for the 2002 Salt Lake City Winter Olympics. In conclusion, this was a horrific event that tragically killed many, but in the end caused higher focus on safety and brought people together.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, heroes in a half shell, turtle power, they're the world's most fearsome fighting team.
We're really hip.
They're heroes in the half shell, and they're green.
Hey, get a grip.
When the evil shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't cut them no slack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be ninja teens.
He's a radical rat.
Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines.
That's a fact, Jack.
Raphael is cool but rude.
Give me a break.
Michelangelo is a party dude.